Okay, so welcome back, Elaine, to the Zoom room for another live session in the Art of Letting Go program. Nice to see you again. So I think let's dive straight in to today's email with a daily quote to kick things off, and we'll have a look at the quote. There's some teaching around that, and that'll lead us nicely into today's new insert, which is the final insert of part 2 of the workbook. We're getting to the end of the lessons, finally. On answers the question, what am I? So, and then should have time, hopefully, to actually do today's lesson as well. So let's jump in, shall we? I'll just share my screen with you. If you can read the quote to start with. There we go. There's today's quote. This is in the alternative Art of Letting Go form, adapted from the original passage in section 7 of chapter 20 of the text, which is called, tell you now, the consistency of means and end. Consistency of means and end. There we go. So, yeah, if you can you see that? Is it big
Yeah,
enough? Can you?
yeah, that's fine. It is impossible to perceive anyone as innocent and still to perceive them as a body. It is not perfectly consistent with the goal of pure formless awareness. For pure
Yeah,
formless awareness,
is this not perfectly consistent? Shall I make it a bit bigger?
all right, okay. Yeah. Is this not perfectly consistent with the goal of pure formless awareness? For pure formless awareness is merely the result of letting the effects of sin go. So what was always true is recognized. To perceive an innocent body is impossible, for pure formless awareness is positive and the body is merely neutral. It is not sinful, but neither is it sinless. As nothing, which it is, the body cannot meaningfully be invested with attributes of my true self or my ego, which is just my belief in separation and a separate self concept. Either must be in an error, for both place the attributes where they cannot be, and both must be undone for truth to be revealed.
Yeah. So what he's telling us very clearly here is that there is no reality and therefore no true identity in the body. So we must completely let go of identifying ourselves and other people as bodies to free ourselves from the belief in sin, which, remember, is just the belief that we and others have done something wrong. That's permanent. It's irreversible. The ego tells us it's irredeemable and therefore punishable. The ego's belief in sin is that it's permanent and you can't correct it. So the belief in sin and guilt we feel because of it underpins the whole idea of separation. And all of its horrific consequences, if you believe them, the fear, the pain, the suffering, sickness, death, all of that that's ever been experienced by any sentient being in the nightmare this belief produces. And this is illustrated quite well in this diagram. which we've looked at many times before, the descent into hell, showing us how the belief in separation, or the ego, causes us to go out of our minds and descend down the ladder of separation into a state in which we think we're bodies. We believe that we're victims of a cruel external world that's constantly threatening our health, well-being, and our very existence, or what we call life in this world. So just to recap, it starts with an idea of separation, the tiny mad idea, as Yeshua calls it. Pure formless awareness is still there, but this tiny mad idea is now off on its own track, thinking itself into some kind of existence. That thought of separation we call the ego, also called consciousness by the Course. We call it the belief in separation in our alternative language. In religious traditions, it's called Satan, and other things, the devil, Satan, and so on and so on. But it's just an idea of separation that now is believed in. That's the problem. At this point, we start to identify with, we start to believe in it. We then have inevitably a separate identity that comes from that, because separation demands more separation. So we go into division and duality, individuality. We really enter into that in our minds, and we become an individual self. That separate identity named, which is the foundation of sin. As soon as you do that, you now experience the sin, the apparent guilt for that sin of destroying this perfect loving awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, perfect oneness, God, love, whatever you want to call it, has now been destroyed in your imagination, right? This isn't reality, but this is what's happened in your mind. And you now feel tremendously guilty for this terrible sin of destroying this pure awareness, and just, in fact, just because on some level you know that's yourself, of destroying yourself and now creating a false self that covers over this true self, this pure formless awareness. And once you're in guilt and sin, fear is inevitable, because you have a false expectation of punishment for the sin that appears to be real. You must project that out onto a concept of a fearful, wrathful, vengeful God. What we did initially when this all happened and it kicked off was we were terrified of this fearful, wrathful, vengeful God that we'd made up to punish us. So this is an invented God. It's a false God, but nevertheless, we give it power in our minds. It's a false idol. And then the fear of it is so great that we think we got to run away from it. And then we run away into an illusory world. So the idea of the projection of all this guilt outwards gives rise to the Big Bang, or what the cosmologists call the Big Bang, where you have this projection, a massive projection of guilt and fear outwards to miscreate what we now know as the physical universe. Just a thought really projected out of the mind, now apparently made real in this apparently external physical universe, which the mind has got caught up in. And so the consciousness of all these separate cells is now bound up with this physical universe, and we identify with ourselves as a fragment of the mind, of the ego, incarnated into a separate form of matter, and that seems to now be our identity, whether that's a human being, or that's a plant, or an animal, or a bird, or even something inanimate. It all seems to have some kind of separate form, separate identity. And we've evolved into this very, very complex, sophisticated, separate forms of life, whose minds have really identified with their forms. And that is the ego's world. That is the ego's reality. We now think that we're individuals living in this fairly horrible world we've created, which is populated with sin, guilt, fear, and attack. There's all this accusation, blame, and attack that has to come from fear and guilt. All gets projected out. We now feel like we're the victim of an unfair world, living a helpless, enervated little life, which is a nice acronym for hell, of limitation, lack, loneliness, and suffering, before eventually we die, our bodies die. If we identify ourselves as our bodies, then we have to think that we die as well. And it's all fairly depressing, because what was it all for if everything you tried and you did came to nothing and you died? And that's what the ego struggles with. If you really start self-inquiry, I say, well, what is the point of all of it? And the Holy Spirit tells us, which is the ability to reinterpret the dream, that there is no point in any of it, that this is all just a product of a delusional idea, a tiny mad idea of separation, which still isn't true, and that you can undo that idea. You don't have to believe in that idea in any way, shape, or form. No matter how that idea is manifesting in your apparent reality, your only job is to let it go and deny it, so that you don't identify with it. And that denial leads you out the ladder, up the ladder, out of the world, and back up into pure formless awareness of perfect love. But you have to climb over these obstacles. So you have to look at the sin and the guilt and the fear and all of your accusation and blame and attack, and the sense of being an individual self who's living a helpless, enervated little life. Looking at all of that, transcending it, overcoming it, climbing back up the ladder to eventually get to the point where you realize that only the separation, only that tiny mad idea is behind all of this. And if that tiny mad idea is false, then so is everything in this world. So is your entire mind, your ego mind, your separate self. So is this world. Essentially, you've been living in a dream world, a false matrix. But your mind is clear enough now to realize it and just go back into pure formless awareness of perfect love. All right, so is that clear? Just
Yeah.
a quick recap of that. That's really the course's teachings, philosophy of it in a nutshell. Crash course really in, say, 10 minutes in just understanding what Course in Miracles is saying. Then our job is to apply it. So it's really imperative that we let go of all concept of sin and guilt, and transcend it, which is why we practice the mind training lessons. They are all about facing the sin and the guilt. Today's one is specifically about sin and overcoming that, finding innocence in our minds, letting it go, and finding a self beyond the separate self, beyond the self concept that is the product of the thought of separation. Finding that, because that transcends the idea of separation. We looked at Maslow's hierarchy of needs earlier. At this transcendent level, Maslow's hierarchy, there we go. At the transcendent level, where are we? See if we can find the diagram where it's gone. So there's Maslow's traditional hierarchy. All the what we call deficiency needs.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure what's happened there. Screen's gone blank. All right. Stop the share. I'll go back into it. It's still there. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. And there's Maslow's expanded hierarchy, showing you the deficiency needs: physiological, safety, belonging, and love. Esteem needs, those are all coming out of a sense of lack, of deficiency, all of the ego. As you start moving into the top four, you get into what he calls growth needs, and you're moving towards ultimately the transcendent state of pure awareness, which in this diagram we would call God or love or pure formless awareness. God, love, oneness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, whatever we want to call it. We're moving into that transcendent state that completely transcends the ego system. There is no idea of separation in pure formless awareness. There is no separate self-concept anymore. That's all been undone. Okay, so that prepares us quite nicely to have a look at today's lesson and also the new insert, which answers the question, what am I? So let's dive into that, shall we? This is insert 14, the last one. Shall we read that? Yes, let's read insert 14. Shall I read the original? You read the alternative.
Yeah.
So I am God's son, complete and healed and whole, shining in the reflection of his love.
I can't see anything. There's a black screen.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So it says I'm screen sharing. Not sure
Yes,
what.
it says it started.
Right.
Started screen sharing, and there's a little white
Right.
circle going
Yeah.
round and round.
Yeah. I don't know what does that. Let's try again. Hopefully it'll work.
Yep, I can see it now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep,
So yeah, if you read
yep. First one.
first sentence of the alternative paragraph.
I am perfect love's extension, complete and healed and whole, shining in the reflection of its love.
In me is his creation sanctified and guaranteed eternal life.
Its extension is honored and guaranteed eternal life in me.
In me is love perfected, fear impossible, and joy established without opposite.
Love is perfected, fear is impossible, and joy is established without opposite.
I think we probably need to cut that out. In me, love is perfect, fear is impossible. Okay. I am the holy home of God himself.
I am the innocent home of perfect love itself.
I am the heaven where his love resides.
I am the state of pure formless awareness in which its love resides.
I am his holy sinlessness itself, for in my purity abides his own.
I am its pure innocence itself, for in my purity lives its own.
Okay, from the top in the alternative.
Yeah. I am perfect love's extension, complete and healed and whole, shining in the reflection of its love. Its extension is honored and guaranteed eternal life in me. In me, love is perfected, fear is impossible, and joy is established without opposite. I am the innocent home of perfect love itself. I am the state of pure formless awareness in which its love resides. I am its pure innocence itself, for in my purity lives its own. It's just saying who we really are. We're perfect love's extension, complete, healed, whole. In eternal life is in us. And we no longer, it's impossible to have fear, there's joy. So it's everything that we want to return back to, home.
Yeah, I'm purely innocent. So I've never done anything wrong. I'm not guilty. That entire idea of separation, being a separate self, the guilt that comes with that, the fear, the sin, the attack thoughts, the whole mess, really. It's a mess. It just isn't real.
Mm.
I am just this pure extension of perfect love. And in that perfectly happy, joyful, peaceful, there's nothing can go wrong. And our job is just to remember that. So this prayer is reminding us of who we are in the dream. So we're apt to forget. Kind of crazy question, really. Like, you think, well, surely you'd know by now what you are. If you're
Mm.
a 50 something, 60 something, I'm in my 50s, you're in your 60s. You think,
Yeah.
well, am I? Like, surely you figured it out after
You were, yeah,
so
but
many
yeah,
years of living. But
persistent.
actually, we're still actually trying to figure out that basic question of who am I?
Mm.
What am I? And that's the true spiritual journey is answering this question. What am
Mm.
I? Who am I?
Mm.
That's the authentic spiritual journey. That's the hero's journey
Yeah.
of awakening to who you are. And typically that often, that's the fulfillment. When you know who you are, then you've finished the journey. You've completed the task. You're at the
You're
end.
awakened. Hmm.
You're awakened. But you might know who you are for a bit, as we know. And then
Get
it's
glimpses.
get who you are, because the ego comes again and you go
In full
into
force, full
and then
force.
you lose
Hmm.
yourself again.
Yeah.
So it's in and out of it.
Mm. Yeah.
Which is why we just keep practicing to remind ourselves over and over. Okay, what am I? Okay, so happy with that. I mean, a really powerful prayer. That's why it's in italics. It's a prayer. You could use that prayer every day if you wanted. It's a very powerful prayer. Remind yourself of the ultimate truth of who you are. To relate it to Maslow's hierarchy, if we go back there,
Mm.
if you were fully aware of this, you'd be at the transcendent level, beyond self-actualization, the transcendent self that just is and knows itself as that isness, as that being that it really is. This is, what Yesh is trying to describe in words here, which
Mm.
don't really do it justice, but they
No,
just point
no.
you in the right
Yeah.
direction.
Mm.
The paragraph wouldn't really do the mystic experience of pure formless awareness of perfect love justice, because they're just words. Which he then goes on to. He says, well, actually, we can't really use words. Our use for words is almost over now. I'm going to read the alternative.
Our use for words is almost over now. Yet in the final days of this 1 year, I gave to pure formless awareness a perfect love. Together with Yeshua, we found a single purpose that we shared.
And
And
that's
so
just
on.
going to be, we gave to God together, you and I. So what he's doing here is just really saying, okay, we've journeyed together. It's quite a nice joining that he does in his last thing. I've been your teacher, you've been my student, but we've journeyed together and we found a single purpose in
Yeah.
this. And we gave this year to God together. We gave it to pure formless awareness and perfect love together with Yeshua. We found a single purpose that we shared. Okay, and then the
Yeah.
rest is fairly straightforward. You just read the alternative.
Yeah. And so I joined with him. He is for what I am as well. The truth of
Now,
what.
hang on.
Mhm.
Merging. He is. Well, he is what I am as well. Right. So I joined with Yeshua because I'm really the same self as him. A lot of traditional Christians would say, well, that's blasphemy, even though he stated it very clearly. He said, I am one with the Father, and the Father is one with me, which got him into immense hot water with the Pharisees and Sadducees, because they said it was blasphemy. But he continued and he said, and I am one with you, and you are one with me, and we are one self. So it's all one. It's one awareness. Just realizing that experientially is is then to realize your own Christ identity, and you identify yourself as Yeshua did, as this true self, the great I am presence, without opposite, that is unified with everyone and everything. And you can't really speak of this, as he says. Truth of what we are is not for words to speak of or describe. We carry on, yet we can realize our function.
Yet we can realize our function here, and if we live by the words in us, words can speak of this and teach it too. So it's just talking about our concepts and words. It's, we're at a stage now where they're no longer needed. It's time now for pure formless awareness of perfect love, together with Yeshua, find a single person that's shared. So the truth of what we are is not for words to speak of or describe, but we realize our function here, and if we live by the words in us, words can speak of this and teach it too. So they're just the pointers. But eventually we have to drop all of that.
Yeah, we do. And words, yeah, the Course uses a lot of words, hundreds of thousands of words in it, but they're just pointers to the truth.
Yeah.
They're as useful while we're still wrestling with this stuff and we're learning who we are. They're useful. But there comes a point when they're not useful anymore. You can't experience pure formless awareness of perfect love and have any words. Because words are dualistic. Words limit, words define, words describe limited things. Then there are no words to describe it, which is why we call the experience of God awe. It's an awesome experience. Fortunately, that word's been greatly misused in modern culture. Oh, it was awesome. And people say, oh, awesome. Very American. It's like, oh, it's so awesome. Oh, you have no idea what that really means. Awesome means you're in a revelatory state.
Yeah.
And you're speechless. You can't even put words to it. But as most ego things, that degrades that word into something that isn't its true meaning, and then the essence of it is lost. We say, oh well, what an awesome whatever it is, in form, an awesome TV show, an awesome game, an awesome meal, and it just totally devalues the experience of awe, doesn't it? Or is this okay? I'm actually speechless, so I just can't say anything in the presence of this awareness. Yeah, and you don't. My own mystic experiences are like there's no words. You just words disappear, concepts disappear. The conceptual mind just goes away, and there's just this experience of this awareness, just pure awareness, and no commentary on it. Just pure awareness, which is very blissful. That chatterbox mind just goes away for that short period of time. Usually these experiences don't last very long, and then the person comes back and the mind starts again. But they've had an experience of something beyond the mind. So the mind's never quite the same again, because it knows now experientially that there's something else beyond its chatter, a place of infinite peace and stillness, grace and light. And then, when you come back from an experience like that, then you try and describe it and you use these words, but they don't really describe it. They just sort of maybe help someone to realize it's there and point them to it. Okay, so he's saying to us, okay, our useful words, it's almost over now. This is the final 10, 15 lessons of the course, trying to take us beyond words into just this mystic state of pure experience. Okay, so number 3, we are the bringers of salvation.
I am the bringer of freedom.
We accept our part as saviors of the world, which through our joint forgiveness is redeemed.
I accept my part in the awakening of the world, which is freed through our joint letting go.
And this, our gift, is therefore given us.
And being my gift, this is therefore given to me.
We look on everyone as brother and perceive all things as kindly and as good.
I perceive everyone as a companion and perceive every event and circumstance as beneficial and good.
We do not seek a function as past the gate of heaven.
I do not seek a function that is past the beginning of the state of pure formless awareness.
Knowledge will return when we have done our part.
Knowledge will return when I have done my part.
We are concerned only with giving welcome to the truth.
I am concerned only with giving welcome to the truth. From the top, I am the bringer of freedom. I accept my part in the awakening of the world, which is freed through our joint letting go. And being my gift, this is therefore given to me. I perceive everyone as a companion and perceive every event and circumstance as beneficial and good. I do not seek a function that is past the beginning of the state of pure formless awareness. Knowledge will return when I have done my part. I am concerned only with giving welcome to the truth.
Okay, so you take on that. What's he saying?
Well, it's just we're the bringer of freedom. Once we've accepted our part in the awakening of the world, and through our joint letting go, so everyone is our companion, and every event and circumstances is beneficial and good.
There's focusing really now on the process, isn't it? So let's just look at this in context of this diagram of the Holy Trinity. That might be useful. So one, there we go. Holy Trinity. So he's saying, yeah, we're talking about the highest awareness, heaven, the state of pure formless awareness. He's pointed us there, right? He said, this is your true reality. But then he takes us back to the process and he says, okay, but I don't seek a function that is beyond the gate of heaven. What does he mean by that?
I don't seek a function above the heaven's gates.
So heaven's gate is the start of the state of pure formless awareness, right? Heaven is the state of pure formless awareness. So we're not seeking a function that's beyond forgiveness, which is a very practical kind of realistic thing to do. And that's why the course is really helpful, because staying in this state, as he says, is virtually impossible in this world. To stay in the state all the time, to expect to stay in the state all the time is unrealistic. Occasionally it happens. There are some deep mystics who manage to stay in this state for long periods of time, sometimes their entire life. You can think of the likes of Ramana Maharshi, some of these other great mystics and yogis who spend most of their life in meditation. But he says that, that is so remote, such a remote possibility that for most people, that's not even worth considering. So he says that'll happen when you're ready. In the meantime, focus here, right? Focus on the process of correcting your mind, of doing forgiveness, of letting go of the separate self and identifying more and more with the true self as you go. And that's enough. And you perceive everyone as a companion on the journey. Every event and circumstance is beneficial and good, even if it's challenging. You see it as part of your letting go, another letting go opportunity. You don't seek a function. It's past the beginning of the state of pure formless awareness. So you're not going into this. You're just saying, well, let me just let go and identify with my true self, and I'll start to get glimpses, the start of the state of pure formless awareness. But I'm not trying to go beyond that, i.e., I'm not going beyond this intermediate mezzanine level of the true self. I'm not trying to. When it happens, it happens. When I go there, I go there. Knowledge will return when I've done my part. I'm concerned only with giving welcome to the truth. So knowledge is this level, which Ken Wapnick called level 1. That'll come when I'm ready. At the moment, my only job is to just welcome it, to don't resist it, don't put blocks to its awareness in place, and believe in those blocks and perpetuate those blocks. Just dedicate your life to letting go of those blocks. And when you do that, that's forgiveness or corrections, letting go, surrender. That's the process of salvation or one-ment or enlightenment or resurrection or awakening. That's grace coming into your life. It's transformation. It's your intuition coming in and being able to guide you. It's healing, guidance, the second coming, and so on. So he's saying, we'll focus on this, and this pure formless awareness of perfect love will look after itself when you're ready. Which is very, sensible, practical way of approaching it. Because if he said, well, just go for this, how would you then function? In pure formless awareness of perfect love, you're not even aware of any self-concept. You're not even aware of what's going on in the world. Perception disappears. So you just can't function in the world, which makes it very difficult to live in it. Most of the time, people at this awareness just check out of the world, and they spend a lot of time in deep meditation or prayer. Okay, so happy with that. Number 3. So move on to number 4. So ours are the eyes through which Christ's vision sees the world redeemed from every thought of sin.
Mine are the eyes through which my true self's vision sees a world free from every thought of sin.
Ours are the ears that hear the voice for God proclaim the world as sinless.
Mine are the ears that hear the voice for perfect love proclaim the world as innocent.
Ours the minds that join together as we bless the world.
Ours are the minds that join together as we bless the world.
And from the oneness that we have attained, we call to all our brothers, asking them to share our peace and consummate our joy.
And from the oneness that I have attained, I call to all my companions, asking them to share my peace and confirm my joy. From the top. Mine are the eyes through which my true self's vision sees a world freed from every thought of sin. Mine are the ears that hear the voice for perfect love proclaim the world as innocent. Ours are the minds that join together as we bless the world. And from the oneness that I have attained, I call to all my companions, asking them to share my peace and confirm my joy. Just saying how our eyes, if we look through the eyes, which our true self's vision sees a world freed of the thought of sin, the ears to hear and the voice of perfect love, and the minds that join together, we bless the world. So we call to our companions, asking them to share the peace and confirm my joy.
Yeah, really calling us to unite with others. The key thing with this teaching is you don't really know yourself if you still think you're a separate self. If you're not united with others in your perception, then you haven't got it. It's only when you realize that there's only one of us here, one self, one awareness, despite the appearances of to the contrary. And then we call to them from that oneness, that perspective of oneness, which is the true self's perspective. Calls to them in the dream, it corrects our perception. It says, "Join me, my brothers, in this awareness, in loving awareness." And this is the only way we're ever going to be happy, we're ever going to be peaceful, we're ever going to be healed in this world. And so then you become a teacher of God that teaches this loving awareness, not just in your words, but in your actions. You do it by example. So you might speak it, but the most powerful way of calling people is by your demonstration. Be peaceful, be loving, be joyful yourself, and then people might want to emulate you and say, "Well, you've got something there. What is it, and how do you do it?" And then they get curious and follow the same way as you do. Okay, last paragraph. Happy to move on?
Yeah.
We are the holy messengers of God who speak for him and carrying his word to everyone whom he has sent to us. We learn that it is written on our hearts.
I am the innocent messenger of perfect love who speaks for it and carrying the message to everyone whom it has sent to me. We learn that it is written on our hearts.
Let's make that, read that again. I'm just going to make it in the first person. It's more personalized. So read it again. I am the innocent messenger.
I am the innocent messenger of perfect love who speaks for it and carrying its message to everyone whom it has sent to me. I learn that it is written on my heart.
Yeah. And thus our minds are changed about the aim for which we came and which we seek to serve.
And so our minds are changed about the aim for which we came and choose to serve.
We bring glad tidings to the Son of God who thought he suffered.
I bring a happy message to the extension of perfect love which thought it suffered.
Now is he redeemed.
Now we are free. Excuse me.
And as he sees the gate of heaven stand open before him, he will enter in and disappear into the heart of God.
And as I come more and more aware of the state of pure formless awareness, I will enter fully into it, and my separated self-concept will disappear in this pure formless awareness of perfect love.
From the top,
I am the innocent messenger of perfect love who speaks for it and carrying its message to everyone whom it has sent to me. I learn that it is written on my heart. And so our minds are changed about the aim for which we came and choose to serve. I bring a happy message to the extension of perfect love, which thought it suffered. Now we are free. And as I become more and more aware of this state of pure formless awareness, I will enter fully into it, and my separate self-concept will disappear in this pure formless awareness of perfect love. It's just saying, we're the innocent messenger of this perfect love. And it's carrying the message to everyone whom it has sent to us. And we've learned that it's written on our heart. So our minds are changed, and the aim for which we came and choose to serve. So we bring a happy message to the extension of perfect love, which we thought it suffered. So now we're free. So as soon as we become more and more aware of this state, we'll then enter into it fully and leave our separate self-concept to disappear.
Yeah, I was just talking about, diagrammatically, it's when you finally let go of it all, even the concept of a true self, the need to perceive anything, corrections, at-one-ment, forgiveness, all of that is over. You don't need any of this anymore, and you simply disappear into the state of pure formless awareness, disappear into the heart of God, as he calls it, and you merge back into this singular awareness, which was always there, but you weren't aware of it. It's always been there since the beginning of time, since before time. This awareness has always been there, but you just weren't aware of it. You obscured it, and finally you'll merge back into it. And that's the mystical merging of the Father with the Son. Right? The source and its extension will once again be one in this awareness, and that is the ultimate program of the universe, of time and space. Ultimately, every sentient being, every mind will go back to this state, into this awareness, and merge back into its source. But apparently there's a journey going on, and there's a lot of letting go and a lot of forgiveness that needs to happen in the dream to facilitate that. So you see how he's jumping levels in this section. That's now he's talking level 5, level 1 here.
Mm.
Disappear. So now he's disappear into the heart of God is this level 1 in what we would call this in this top blue circle. But then in here, he says, I do not seek a function as past the beginning of the state of pure formless awareness. Knowledge will return when I've done my part. I'm concerned only with giving welcome to the truth. He's now talking about this process here, you see, and saying, well, there's a process to this to eventually get here where you're ready just to let it all go and disappear, let it all disappear. So it's the paradox. Some course teachers will go, but you're already there. There's no journey, there's nothing to do. But then they miss reading the course, because he talks a lot about the journey. He talks a lot about the process. And he keeps reminding us, well, okay, there's a process to get here. When you're ready, this will happen. But until then, focus on the process, on letting go and forgiveness. Because that's what's going to get you out. That's what's going to make you ready for this state of pure formless awareness of perfect love, level 1, which is already there, but you're not ready for that yet. So it's a paradox, but it's a paradox that he resolves by saying, well, just work on the process. Work in the now, in the holy instant, on letting go of whatever you need to let go of as it arises, using radical forgiveness or letting go. And if you do that, then you bring your mind into the now, you identify more and more with your true self, and eventually this awareness will just arise of itself. God takes the final step, is how he describes it. Knowledge will come when you're ready. But you don't have to worry how that's going to happen. Just focus on the process. So although the course has this very high metaphysics, and some people can say, well, it's very kind of airy-fairy and a bit unrealistic and not practical. That's not true. If you read it correctly, he's saying focus here, focus on the practical aspect of this awakening process, which is letting go, and just doing that without exception, no matter what. And that's what we need to focus on. That's what, as teachers and students, we need to say, well, this is really where properly our focus belongs while we're in this world. Not on here, because that's such an unrealistic goal. He says if it happens, all very well, but it's so rare to stay in the state for any length of time that he said it's not even worth considering as a realistic goal. He says that at some point in the course, because it's very, very rare. But this, on the other hand, is something everyone can do and must do to awaken. And we can do that in our daily life. We can use our life experiences, no matter what's happening in them, to help us do this. And then our life becomes meaningful and significant and directed in service of a true purpose, which is awakening to ourself and ultimately God. So do you see then how the Holy Trinity works and why it's really useful to understand it?
Yeah.
Because it helps you understand the process as well as the ultimate destination. Just like any journey. I mean, think of a GPS. The GPS is not necessary when you're there, is it? You're driving somewhere, you know, and once you've arrived, you don't need it. But it's very useful while you're on your journey. The start of the journey, in the middle of the journey, incredibly useful. So if you deny the need for the GPS and to take the journey, you'll never get to the destination. Even though the destination was always there, you just weren't at the destination yet. You had to journey to get there. You see, that's how the paradox resolves. So you can actually work at this. You can do something, even though at level 1 you'd need do nothing. It's a level 1 statement. In level 2, in this awakening process, you're saying, no, you do need to let go. That's the one thing you've got to do. If you don't let go, you're going to stay enslaved in your ego in time and space. And that's kind of subtle, and I don't hear many course teachers teaching it, but it's important. Because you can go, oh, well, you know, heaven is here now, and it's all you're home, and that's true at level 1, yes. But if you don't believe that, if you're still stuck in your ego, then there's a journey to get there, and you can't deny the need for that journey. Otherwise, you're never going to get there. You see, oh, I'm already awakened and enlightened, but I'm not because I've still got all this guilt and sin and fear that I've got to let go of. Well, I've got to work through that. I've got to go through a process to do that. What forgiveness is. Okay, so is that helpful and clear? I hope.
Yeah, that's very clear.
See where the diagram comes from. You know, it's all actually in the words. Just framing it diagrammatically. Okay, let's read this quickly, and then there's just the lesson, which is 1 paragraph. So, should we alternate? I'm extension. I'll read the 2, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I'll read the first one. You read the second one. I'm the extension of perfect love, whole, complete, and healed, shining in the reflection of its love. There's another comma there, I think. In me, love is perfected, fear is impossible, and joy has no opposite. I am the innocent home of perfect love, the state of pure formless awareness where its love resides. And my purity is its own. Okay, so what's he saying there? Just talking about level 1. It's a transcendent state. He's pointing us to here, isn't he? To this transcendent state of awareness where everything's perfect, we're in bliss. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. There's no opposite, non-dual, right? Perfectly non-dual. It says no opposite. That's a key to where you seemingly are. You're in a non-dual state, and that's level 1. Level 1 is perfect non-duality. Anything else would then be level 2, or the process of awakening from level 2 to get back to level 1. Okay, so he starts off by reminding us who we are in level 1. Then he talks about words as a tool. So just read that.
Words are no longer necessary, for I have shared a single purpose with pure formless awareness, perfect love. In unity with Yeshua, I recognize that truth cannot be spoken, but can be lived. By fulfilling my function, words can reflect and teach what I have realized. So just saying its words are no longer necessary in this process.
Yeah, because words would be part of this awakening, wouldn't they? You know, in this process here, words are quite useful concepts. And we need to understand. If you didn't have words, you couldn't explain any of this stuff. You couldn't speak about it, couldn't get to grips with it, you couldn't understand it. Very helpful in awakening to who you are, understanding things like the hero's journey, understanding the Holy Trinity, but it's all still conceptual. You understand? We're still in concepts, we're still in understanding, but it's illusions that are going to lead you out of the illusion. That's the usefulness of it. these ideas of forgiveness and the hero's journey and letting go of your self-concept and awakening are all part of this freedom of freeing yourself, freeing your mind from the matrix, going back home, and are necessary until they become unnecessary, right? Just like the GPS or the sat nav, as we call it in the UK, is unnecessary when you reach the destination. You switch it off. It's just an annoyance then because you're already there and it's yakking away and giving you unnecessary instructions. You don't need it, but while you're on the journey, it's very useful. It's that analogy. We'll just bear that in mind. Okay, so I bring freedom by accepting my role in the world's awakening. I free the world through my letting go, and as I give this gift, I receive it. Let's make that perceive every companion with innocence as innocent, maybe as innocent, and every circumstance as beneficial. My purpose is not beyond the beginning of the state of pure formless awareness, because knowledge of what lies beyond will return when my part is done. My focus is only on welcoming the truth. So thoughts on that?
Yeah, so just by letting go, this will bring freedom and accepting the world, the role that we have in the world's awakening. So we see our companion as innocent, and every circumstance that we come across is beneficial.
Yeah. And that's a key part of awakening. If you don't do that, and you're still in resistance, and you go, oh, this really sucks, and this is terrible. Why is this happening to me? I can't believe my life is so bad. I can't believe this person's done this to me. Oh, poor me, and on, all those thoughts. You're not going to awaken ever.
No. They're there to show you your shadow.
Yeah. And realize that shadow is just an illusory self-concept masquerading as yourself. And it's been triggered to arise by these circumstances, but it's not real. It's false. Awakening is just the realization that it's false, that your self-concept's false. Awakening, salvation is nothing more than escape from concept, says Yeshua in the Course. So just awakening from that false self-concept that you think you are, but isn't true. So my focus is only on welcoming the truth, right? So here, you see how he's dropped down. This is level 1, and now he's back in the journey of journeying from level 2, out of level 2 into the more awareness of the true self. Yeah. So you see how helpful understanding the levels is. Otherwise, you get very confused. So he's contradicting himself. On the one hand, he's saying there, and another, he's saying, well, now I've got to do stuff. So I need do nothing, level 1. Oh, but now you need to do a whole lot of stuff like forgiveness, level 2. Hang on, there's a contradiction. There isn't a contradiction. It's just, it's the journey and the destination. You need the journey until you get to the destination. When you're at the destination, you no longer need to journey. And you no longer need any of the tools on the journey. But the tools are useful while you're on the journey. So, relating it to a physical journey in this world is kind of helpful. What do we do when we arrive at the journey? You switch off the sat nav. You don't need it anymore. Until you need it again. You go on a journey again, you get in the car, okay, switch it on again because I need it. Until I get to the destination, then I don't need it. This is a good analogy. The hero's journey is I need it, I need awakening, I need forgiveness, I need all these ideas, these concepts, until I realize that I'm actually there, I always was there, and I don't need them anymore. And then just when I think that I've really got it, what's going to happen? You're going to go, oh, actually, I haven't really got it. I've still got some more to learn. So maybe I still need to do some letting go. So I still need those tools, right? I love if anyone says, "Oh, I've really got it." No, I'm awakened. I'm enlightened. You go, okay, well, just
you'll get your time.
Let's see. Because life tests you, and then you're back in the ego, and then you realize, well, hang on, I haven't really let it go.
Because it's
I've still
still
got
triggering me, yeah.
self-concept that I got to let go of, and I still need these tools of letting
Mm,
go, and being able to practice letting go through the lessons and the other tools that we have. I still need that to help me awaken and get to my destination of ultimate reality. So hopefully that resolves the paradox, and then you understand where you're at, and both are valid, both are true. Within the journey is not ultimately true. None of this is ultimately true, but when you're on it, it's needed. It's a necessary process, to get to the final destination. The journey down to the ocean through the journey of the river is necessary to get to the ocean. Otherwise, you never become the ocean. And the analogies are endless in this world. I've just given you two there. All right. So my true self perceives a world free of sin. You read that.
My true self perceives a world free of sin through vision, and through my hearing I receive the voice for perfect love, proclaiming everyone's innocence. Our minds are joined in blessing the world from this oneness. I call on my companions to share in peace and confirm our joy. So our true self sees a world free of sin through its vision, and through our hearing its voice, we accept perfect love's, proclaiming everyone's innocence.
Yeah.
Because our minds are joined from this oneness.
And that's really where the rubber meets the road. Whatever someone said or done, and they may have no idea about this at all. I'm dealing with a situation now. They have no idea about this at all. Nevertheless, they are still perfect love. They are still the true self. They are still one with me, nevertheless. Irrespective of what they understand or don't understand, irrespective of their behavior. The Course is not saying suddenly everyone's going to be wonderful to you and happy and treat you nicely. He's not saying that. It's a misunderstanding if you think that. No, people do what they do in the delusion of a separate self-concept. And if they're very identified with that, they will do unkind things that cause pain and suffering to themselves and others, inevitably. And that goes on. People do that all the time. But if you see them as innocent, then none of that matters to you. You're not affected by those appearances. Do you see the difference? You're not expecting them to change. You go, okay, well, do whatever you do, and you're just doing the best you can with your self-concept. Everyone does the best they can with what they know. If they really identified with a false self-concept, then they're going to act egoically in unkind, hurtful, harmful ways to themselves and others. They're going to do that because that's what their self-concept demands. Yeah. So you can condemn them for that, or you can just go, well, it doesn't matter because that self-concept is false. It's illusory. And they can't actually transcend that. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do is the expression of that, isn't it? Yeshua said it really well. They don't understand what they're doing, so how can you condemn them when they're just confused? They're confused, they're deluded, they're lost, they have no idea what they're doing. To judge them and condemn them is to be as deluded as they are. Instead, just see that underneath these false self-concepts that they identify with, they are still the oneness. The screen, in other words, onto which the images of the separate selves is projected is not true. The images are not true, and the screen is the only truth. Understand? And you have to understand that. If you don't understand that, then you've understood nothing about the Course. Then you're still confused. Then you're still identified with your separate self judging another separate self as real. And this one's real, and this one's done this to me. And now you're in separation, and your separate self is very real to you. And you're caught up in that drama, and there's no escape from it as long as you think they're separate from you. You can't then identify with the screen. You have to identify with the images. If you identify with their image that you've created for them, then you must identify with your own image, your own self-concept. You see that? It's inevitable. So that's why this idea of forgiving your brothers is so critical, because you have to let go of your belief they're a separate self to free your own mind. There's no other way. And then you call them to share that. They may not accept the call, and you probably wouldn't often do that physically. You wouldn't like speak to them and say, "Oh, come, my brothers, come into peace and joy."
No, no,
You wouldn't use that language, but
no.
in my situation,
But,
I'm composing an email and say, well, the only way we're going to resolve this is if we unite it in our approach, right? That's the call, right? That's unity,
yeah,
just now framed in a different language that's acceptable
of course, yes.
in that context, which is a business context. So then I'm calling them to share in the peace, the joy, the abundance, the blessings of unity, just in an appropriate way, framing it in language that, okay, this makes sense in this context, and presenting an opportunity for radical forgiveness and for one-ment in that situation. And that is exactly what the course is asking you to do. Apply it in these apparently different situations. There's always a way to apply it, and the Holy Spirit will teach you how to do that. And then you become powerful in this world because you know how to apply it in different situations. And you see that the thread running through all of your experiences is this unity, this oneness, and that you seek to always be the teacher, the carrier of that oneness, of that truth into any situation which you find yourself in. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
And then he says, I'm the innocent messenger of perfect love, carrying its message to those sent to me. As they receive it, our purpose shifts, and we recognize our true aim in life, which is just to realize there's oneness. All of the separate goals fade away, and we go, well, actually, the only purpose is to realize that we are one. It's a very simple idea, but to get there is a journey, isn't it, of note. So I bring a joyful message to the extension of perfect love, once mistaken in its suffering. Now we are free, claiming the truth now in the holy instant, in the now, that this is it. We are free, going from trying to get there to claiming it as this is my awareness. As I awaken to the state of pure formless awareness, I will enter fully into it, and my separate identity will dissolve into pure formless awareness of perfect love. So the need for all of this, for forgiveness, for one-ment, for the true self, for the Holy Spirit, all just disappears, and I just merge back into God. God takes the final step, and I become this awareness, and there's no other awareness in my mind, in my awareness. Level 1, right? So he's taking us, see how he's done it really skillfully. It's level 1 to start with, and then you go through back into level 2 and the awakening process, and then he takes you back at the end of it to level 1 and says, well, this is where you'll end up. After all your journeying is done and all the work is done, you'll come back into this awareness, knowledge, true reality, and you'll just rest there, and you rest in God eternally, and there's nothing to do, nowhere else to go, because that's all there is. That's all that will remain in your perception, in your, sorry, not perception, correction, in your awareness. There's no perception in this awareness. It's just pure awareness. Okay. So then just the key message, and then we'll read the lesson, and we're done.
Yeah, can we? Yeah, because I've got quite a few little bits and pieces, and it's
Yeah. So it's just one paragraph lesson. So
just right. So we'll just I am the extension of perfect love, whole and innocent, bringing freedom through letting go. I see only innocence and welcome the truth, joined in oneness. I share peace and joy. As I awaken to the state of pure formless awareness, my separate self disappears into pure formless awareness of perfect love. Yeah, so that says it all. Oops.
Yeah, and welcome the truth in everyone and everything. So you start seeing the truth everywhere. The screen onto which the images are projected. You see that everywhere. You see the screen, you don't see the images anymore. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You realize I'm just always looking at the same thing. It's always the screen. It's just obscured by the images, but underneath it is this pure awareness, that's the screen, and that's the same no matter what the situation. The images might be apparently nice, beautiful sunset, a little kitten, or they might be horrific. Someone's dying, someone's been killed, murdered, destruction, death, chaos, disaster. Switch on the news, you see all these horrific images. It doesn't matter because the screen is the same. Just like in a movie, you watch the movie, the screen's unaffected, yeah? Images come and go, shift and change, 2 hours of continuously changing images, never static, never still, moving moment by moment. And then, at the end of it, the projector switches off and you sit quietly. I always quite liked that, didn't you? In movies, you'd go beforehand, before the images start, before the movie starts, and it's quiet, and you just sit in the theater for a few minutes. It's really nice.
Mm.
And then afterwards, sometimes I'd sit and go, okay, well, I'm just sitting and everything's quiet. Movie's over, everyone's left. I'm just sitting in the stillness, and none of that is real. Yeah, all the images have gone; they've disappeared. So it's just remembering that while we actually in the movie watching the images, remembering that stillness is actually in that screen, which is the stillness. It's the same thing. It's just is the only truth. All right. So let's go into the lesson quickly. I'll just spend 5 minutes on that because we're getting really. This is why it says the need for words. This is why he says the need for words is nearly over now because he gets even briefer. There's only one paragraph now. We've been doing two up to this point in the second part of the workbook, but now he takes it down to one simple prayer. Okay, so lesson 351. I'll read the original, you read the alternative. My sinless brother is my guide to peace. My sinful brother is my guide to pain, and which I choose to see, I will behold.
My innocent companion is my guide to peace. My sinful companion is my guide to pain, and I will perceive whichever I choose to see.
Yeah, and then there's the images. You see, the world gives us, there's an image of a lovely, innocent child playing, or wonderful, happy. And then you get an image of a prisoner being condemned in court, and it's all pretty, dark. And they was dressed in black, judges. Have you noticed that? Why black? It's like the black robes of death, condemnation, sin, guilt. Have you been in a courtroom? It's quite a dark kind of energy, isn't
Oh,
it?
yes, yes.
It's not a nice kind of, it's the judgment is thick in that atmosphere because that's what they do there all the time. You're judging and condemning. The whole system is an ego construct. So let's go into the prayer. I'll read the original, you read the alternative. Who is my brother but your holy son?
Yeah. Who are my companions but your innocent extension?
And if I see him sinful, I proclaim myself a sinner, not a son of God, alone and friendless in a fearful world.
And if I perceive them as sinful, I can confirm to myself that I am not an extension of perfect love, but a sinner, alone and friendless in a fearful world.
Yet this perception is a choice I make and can relinquish.
Yet this perception is a choice I make and can let go of.
I can also see my brother sinless as your holy son.
I can also perceive my companions as innocent and your perfect extension.
And with this choice, I see my sinlessness, my everlasting comforter and friend beside me, and my way secure and clear.
And I perceive my own innocence with this choice, my eternal comforter and friend beside me, and my way home certain and clear.
Choose then for me, my Father, through your voice.
So then choose for me through your voice, my source.
For he alone gives judgment in your name.
For it alone judges everything from the perspective of perfect oneness. From the top, who are my companions but your innocent extension? And if I perceive them as sinful, I confirm to myself that I am not an extension of perfect love, but a sinner alone and friendless in a fearful world. Yet this perception is a choice I make and can let go of. I can also perceive my companions as innocent and your perfect extension. And I perceive my own innocence with this choice, my eternal comforter and friend beside me, and my way home certain and clear. So then I choose for me through your voice, my source. For it alone judges everything from the perspective of perfect oneness.
Gives judgment in your name. So much more helpful to say the perspective of perfect oneness, isn't it?
Mm.
Judgment in your name it means you view everything from that one perspective. Okay, if it's in alignment with oneness and love, then it's true. If it's not, it's not, and I let it go. It can't be real.
Mm.
And so from the perspective of perfect oneness, anything that's separative cannot be true. So you discard it as untrue, and what remains in your mind is the truth. That actually only perfect oneness is true. We're still one. Despite the appearances of separation, oneness is still true. Underneath that, there's only one screen onto which all the images are projected. Only one mind that's actually projecting them. Underneath it all, there's always unity. That's the truth. That every great teacher, every teaching has said the same thing throughout history. You can analyze all the spiritual teachings and paths, and they all come down to the same thing: oneness. Oneness versus separation. What the Course does, just make it very explicit. It says, well, yeah, these two ideas and these two thought systems just don't reconcile. You have to choose between them. You can't reconcile perfect oneness with separation, can you? It's not possible, because if it's perfect oneness, then there can be no separation. Otherwise, it wouldn't be perfect oneness. It would be oneness with a bit of separation in it, which is no longer oneness. The position's obvious, isn't it? When you look at it that way. Well, oneness is oneness is oneness. As soon as you have separation, it's no longer oneness. So then it's a total contradiction of oneness. So it's one or the other then. It's going to be perfect oneness or it's going to be separation, but you can't have both because they obviously contradict each other. So our job is, in the contradiction of separation, to remind ourselves that only perfect oneness is true. Believe only that, judge all things from that perspective, correct our minds in the process, heal our minds, and awaken to the truth that we are perfectly one and there's only one awareness. Very simple. When you say it, isn't it? Very simple when you say it, but to actually do it is a hero's journey. It can
Yes.
take a whole lifetime or many lifetimes to get there. Even though you're already there, in this moment, you could awaken to it fully and realize it. In practice, most people take time to realize it. It happens slowly and exponentially, and they might get glimpses of it. You might even have revelatory experiences. Oh, wow, I got it there. In that moment, I was there, but then it doesn't last. You come back into the body and the ideas of separation, and then you grapple with those. You struggle with those as part of your learning of letting go of the ego and accepting only perfect oneness. Okay, so any other thoughts or questions or comments on this? Good lesson
Very good.
section, moving into the final stages of the workbook. Just he's really moving in these last 10 lessons into the idea of one self, perfect oneness, and just reminding us again, not that he hasn't done it already, that ideas of sin and guilt and fear and pain are not real. I mean, he's only done this hundreds of times in each lesson, but reminding us again, my sinful companion is my guide to pain, innocent companion is my guide to peace, and I have a choice. Whichever I choose to see that's the reality I'll experience. So do you want peace and pain, peace or pain? Makes it very, very clear, very dualistic. Very, okay, you have a choice here. Do you want peace or do you want pain? And depending on your choice, you'll have one or the other, which I like. It makes it very clear that you have a choice and directs your mind to make that choice. All right. Thank you, Elaine. Anything else? So should we leave it there? There's a meditation on this, which I did post earlier to the group this morning, so you can listen to that if you have time this afternoon, this evening, sorry. Otherwise, just there's that shorter breath break. If you don't have time, just 7 minutes before you go to bed. And yeah, I think really just start, my advice the last couple of weeks is just feel into these lessons, really start trying to go beyond the words into the experience that they take you into.
Yeah.
So you meditate on this and you allow the oneness to arise as an actual experience rather than just the concept.
Yeah.
Easier said than done. You're not always going to succeed. Sometimes it's just an idea, but you can go into experience, which is typically quite peaceful, quite loving, often not a lot of thought. Right? The experience of perfect oneness is not characterized by a lot of thought. In fact, it's characterized by the absence of thought. The holy place where thoughts can enter not is how Yeshua explains it. Go into that perfect oneness, the holy place where thoughts can enter not. That's this level 1, pure formless awareness of perfect love, and leading there. If you can just start glimpsing that, even if you come back into thoughts, but you start going there in your practice and your meditations, that's starting to awaken your mind to that reality, because you're realizing experientially that it's there. I have to say, when you actually experience it, it's what's called revelation. It is pretty revelatory. It's like, wow, I just didn't even know that existed. That was literally mind-blowing. And then you can never fully believe in the ego again, although you might come back into egoic thoughts. Well, certainly you will. There's an awareness of something else beyond it that means you can never fully believe in that again. So you can never get stuck there for too long, because this other awareness, your Holy Spirit, remembrance of perfect love, reminds you that there is this other experience. And you know for a fact that it's there because you've experienced it. No one can deny. You can't deny your own experience, can you? Some people may try, but it's very, very difficult to deny your own experience. It's going to create huge inner conflict if you do that. All right. So yeah, just try and practice that, experiencing it. And I'll see you again tomorrow, I hope. Yeah. Happy to do 4 sessions this week, because I think you missed one last week. So you can do tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow afternoon. Does that work for you?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think so. It's just I've got Dave's family over, and I've got a friend from Jersey coming over, so it's a little busier, but should be fine tomorrow for a couple of hours in the afternoon.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll reconvene at 2 o'clock, shall we?
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Lovely evening.
You
Bye.
too.
Okay, so that is a wrap for today. Hope you enjoyed that session. Thanks to Elaine for joining. If you like the content, do give me a like. Any comments, feel free to post them. I'll respond to them. If you enjoyed this, you can subscribe to the channel, be notified whenever we go live, which is 3 or 4 times a week. You can also go to lifebuild.com. If you're watching the video, you can see that in the background. Just type in lifebuild and .com into your browser, or click the link below in the PS or the message below in the comments box, and you can then subscribe to receive a daily quote, some more information related to that quote, which I shared with you in an email form, but it comes in a Telegram message. So you need Telegram installed on your mobile. I also share the daily mind training lesson from A Course in Miracles in its original and alternative form. Some reading from the text or the manual for teachers or some of the supplements, again in its original and translated form. Meditations on the lessons, as well as shorter breath breaks to help you practice them frequently through the day. So all available free, and also these live sessions. You can get invitations to them, notification about when they happen, and a link to join them in Zoom at lifebuild.com. Sign up to the group, and I hope to catch you on the inside of that or in one of these live sessions soon. So thanks for watching or listening, and namaste, which means the true self in me acknowledges and honors that same true self in you. Wishing you much love, peace, and joy in that self.